episode 13, and this week I have a very special guest join me to go over all of the basics and make sure that I myself can actually talk crypto and Cardano to a newbie. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Learn Cardano podcast, the podcast where we break down all the ins and outs of Cardano so that you can explain it to your significant other, your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it may be. And I'm your host, Peter Buey, and joining me on this episode is my partner, Martina. Martina, welcome to the show.
Thank you. About time you've had me on here. You've been promising me this for a while.
Yeah, well, first off, have you listened to any of my podcast episodes?
I've heard the outro, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess that's a start. But that's probably why I haven't had you on the show. If that's all you're going to listen to, then, why should you be here? But anyway, the point...
Do you want me to go?
Stay. The point of this episode is to put this all to the test. We've gone through 12 episodes now, and I've broken down many of the concepts of Cardano and everything from how the protocol works, its proof of stake compared to proof of work, all the way down to the staking rewards, delegation, fee structures, and so forth. Even Project Catalyst, which is the governance and voting system that is set up within Cardano. Now, you haven't listened to anything, so you don't know anything that I just said just then.
No, I'm pretty much a bit of a newbie because, I know a bit about crypto and blockchains and all of that sort of stuff,
Okay.
but I haven't really been into it since 2017 when it really took off, and then it sort of died, and now it's suddenly a big hit again. So
big re-emergence.
Yeah, and I think I did buy some ADA at some stage because when I logged into CoinSpot,
Yes,
I had a bit of ADA, and I'm like, oh, good. But it's really only because you've been so gung-ho about it that I've gotten onto the ADA bandwagon. But I'm really doing this blindly. Like I am investing blindly based on you and your sort of enthusiasm about Cardano and also everybody around you pretty much.
I guess that's a bit of faith, maybe.
Well, I do have trust in your, I guess...
Expertise?
I wouldn't say expertise,
All right,
but
well, thanks.
I guess foresight maybe in a way.
Yeah. Well, I've painted a good picture of a plan, and Cardano is a part of that big plan for our future.
Well, I like the idea that there's a plan involved and it doesn't seem like aimless gambling and, oh, this sounds like the hot one at the moment and I'm just going to chuck, a lump of sort of money onto this like people have been doing with Dogecoin, and it just seems a little bit, I don't know, some of the coins seem a bit aimless to me.
Yep.
And what has really frustrated me was some of the coins back in 2017 that I really believed in and thought they had such a significant future ended up completely crashing, and it seemed like the project just wasn't really, I don't know, the passion perhaps wasn't there, or the
I wouldn't
longevity.
Say the passion, but a lot of the projects did stumble across many hurdles and couldn't get any further than where they got. Mm-hmm. I won't name some of these projects because some of them are still around, but they went from massive peaks that we saw through 2017, early 2018, and then plummeted down as Bitcoin and some of the major altcoins crashed as well. So all these small altcoins that we're holding on to followed suit and pretty much disappeared.
And that's the problem as well. I'm a bit of a hodler, so I didn't jump when I should have, and my investments just crashed. Oh,
it's completely hard, and I think a lot of people followed suit and were burnt by the big ICO craze and the huge influx of money, and then the huge withdrawal of money as various countries were forced to pull out due to regulations or whatever it was. And we just went tumbling down with it. Great. Well, that's actually a really good backstory as well. So people have an idea of where you are in the crypto space. So let's recap. Basically a hodler, more so a newbie. I'd say you do understand quite a few of the projects. Like we were very deep into listening to podcasts and stuff back in 2017 to understand more about various projects. So you do understand blockchain and what it can do in terms of a technology standpoint.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so let's get into the Cardano side of things. So I've explained a couple of things to you. Now, I'll drill through a couple of questions.
Well, first of all, I just want to know why Cardano over any other coin? Like, why have you gone so gung-ho on the Cardano bandwagon in comparison to any other coin that's out there?
Well, first off, the different protocol that it uses. So Ethereum and Bitcoin, for example, use the protocol proof of work. So that requires a computer or ASIC miners, special computers that are made specifically for the process of mining Bitcoin and encoding the transactions on the blockchain itself. So it takes a lot of power, a lot of electricity, and the barrier to entry into those marketplaces these days is completely, it's so hard. I'd have to spend thousands of dollars to buy the various bits of equipment and hardware, and I have to have the space to do it. So if I was to produce any Ethereum or ETH, myself, I'd fill up this room full of computer hardware, and maybe I'll produce some ETH out of it. So
it's just reached that tipping point where it's too difficult.
It's just too difficult.
Yeah.
If I got in 2016 when it was getting popular, maybe I would have had a chance, and would have an apartment full of computer parts, just mining away Ethereum.
As if we don't already.
Oh, it could be a lot worse. So that's one factor. So it's the barrier to entry into something that I can take a part in. So Cardano, the barrier to entry, I didn't really look into it early in 2020 when I should have. But in 2021, in January 2021, I did have a look at how the process of creating a pool worked. And that process was easy enough for me to actually get into. I spent the last 2 years before learning about servers, ADAOZ, certifications and whatnot. So I had the technical skills. And in terms of getting into it, it was a piece of cake.
But why do you believe in the vision of Cardano? What is the broader picture of this coin?
So Cardano is built on academic research. Every part of the protocol, everything from its governance, its scalability, how it works, whatnot, it's all based on academic research. So if you look at the governance layer, for example, of how the protocol would be governed in the future, it is all based on research paper that was published by Bingsheng Zheng, who did the paper, wrote and had it peer-reviewed over and over again, just around the treasury system of how Cardano works and how it would work in the future. So, and that's what Cardano adopted and worked with. So it's that much detail and level of research in every aspect of the protocol that makes it very appealing, as opposed to a bunch of engineers sitting around a table just spitballing a couple of ideas, trying it out and rushing it to market, like some other protocols did.
So this has more credibility.
I believe it has more credibility. I think the slow, steady approach is much better than rushing something to market. And it kind of has shown its worth now over the years, where other protocols such as Ethereum are now trying to do what Cardano is doing. So Ethereum is a proof of work blockchain, and now they're trying to move to proof of stake, just like Cardano is, but they're hitting barrier after barrier. One of them is all the miners. They've spent all this hardware money to set up this mining equipment to produce ETH. They're not going to let it go easily. So it's very hard to change from one thing to another because of the people in the ecosystem that are depending on it for their livelihoods and whatnot. So Cardano's approach, where it's a slow, methodical, and very well thought out and planned, I think is a much better approach. Sure, it takes longer, but it's doing better, I believe, in the long run.
But what am I actually investing in? Is it literally just a currency, or is there something else, like a vision behind it? As in, like Power Ledger had the vision with, solar power and exchanging energy.
Yeah. So the main vision behind Cardano is to bank the unbanked. So that means all the people in the world that currently don't have bank accounts and don't have access to finance, the modern day finance like you and I do, that's Cardano's vision, to be able to reach those markets and let those people tap into resources that we're just born into.
So I've heard you mention some projects in Africa.
Yeah, that's right. So one of the big pushes was the Ethiopia deal, which was hanging around for ages, but was finally announced in late March. And that one was to provide digital identities to the students within Ethiopia. So all of the essentially student IDs and teacher IDs will be powered by the Cardano blockchain and its identity system called a Prism. And that would allow all the students to track their academic records and prove their academic results when they're going for a job. So anywhere in the world, they could apply for a job and, they could make up. Like so many
falsify
people
resumes.
Yeah. You falsify a resume. You say that you went to Harvard and then you did a postgrad at Stanford, and you get a job at some amazing startup. It's possible.
It is. People do it all the time.
Yeah, precisely.
Or you go to Thailand and you get a fake degree.
Yeah. There you go. So that's the power of that. So someone from Ethiopia could be studying a double degree, pass with flying colours, travel to another country and get a job based on that proof of record. So that's the idea. As opposed to, coming from Ethiopia, landing in America or Australia even, and people looking at the academic records and going, I don't believe this and I can't verify it. So I can't give you a job.
Yeah.
And you can be a janitor instead if you like. And, that's the idea and vision there. But, there's so much more to it because, that's just the first part. So you give 5 million people a digital identity like that. So it starts off as education, educational records, and then you start getting it into bank accounts and government IDs and other things. So you had this issue the other day and you were complaining about it greatly, where you were trying to upgrade your phone plan, but they couldn't verify your ID.
It was crazy. It was like they knew it was me, but then they kept asking for my postcode. And it was like the postcode, supposed to be the postcode when I first signed up, and we've moved so many times.
Yeah.
We've moved, that was like...
So this is the postcode for where you were living when you signed up for your phone plan at that point in time.
But then they didn't...
Yeah, so we tried all up.
Yeah, it wasn't verified. Yeah. And then they didn't verify, the others weren't verified either. But I obviously have a phone, I have a plan, so... I must be...
You exist, right?
Exactly. I do have an identity, but why wasn't it working? It's crazy.
So, the idea of this is that you can have a decentralized identification where all these different providers could tap into to verify that it's you. So your identity is stored in the blockchain. You have a key and access to it from your wallet. They can verify that because you have your wallet and they can say, yep, you're Martina, and we can now give you a phone plan for this, this, and this.
And I love that idea because I guess it means I don't have to constantly keep filling out forms with the same information.
Yeah.
They can literally just tap in, and it doesn't matter whether I'm at a phone company or motor registration or, at the post office getting my passport renewed. It's like they can just log into this one centralized system and there I am.
Decentralized system.
Oh.
Well, the idea is that it will pull from the block, not necessarily from the blockchain, but you'll have your wallet access, which can be verified that it's you against the blockchain, and then that data might come from a centralized database where it's stored. So the blockchain just acts as the just the tagging system to allow you to verify who you are.
Yeah.
And then it retrieves the rest of the data from wherever it needs to.
Mm-hmm. But isn't this, I mean, a lot of other coins herald that they can do the same thing.
They essentially all can, really. But it's about having a goal and a mission to actually achieve and reach mass adoption.
Okay. So somebody needs to be first and somebody needs to...
Someone actually has to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So it hasn't actually been done.
No.
Okay.
And no one's really doing it. Like Cardano is the only project that's reaching into this untapped space. The only project that I know of that's trying to reach into Africa and third world countries or whatever to actually bank these unbanked people and capture that market.
It sounds like GenCoin from startup.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much
okay,
exactly
cool.
that. Yeah. There you go. So if anyone watches Startup on Netflix, or if you don't, I kind of recommend it.
I think we're a bit late to the party. It came out in 2016.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
It is very intense though.
Yeah.
Very intense series.
Okay. So that's why I'm so behind it. It's something that I can see actually making a difference.
It kind of sounds like it has a humanitarian approach.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah.
If you ever watch, I know you haven't watched any of Charles Hoskinson's videos. He's the founder of Cardano and the CEO of IOG, the Input Output Global, who's the company that's doing the majority of the development behind Cardano. He does videos where he gives loans to people in Africa so that they can set up a shop or something like that. So he'll go onto a website called Kiva and actually give out loans to these people that are asking for them.
I remember Kiva.
Yeah, Kiva was a big thing when we were in Sydney. That's just a part of the process, and him doing that shows that is pushing towards that kind of goal. Yeah. So we were in Thailand for quite a while as well in many of our trips, and a lot of the people there just use cash and they live day to day by cash because they have no access to anything else. They can't access bank accounts or whatnot. So if we can get Cardano to these people and get them using blockchain, they'll be able to access finance on the blockchain, access loans on the blockchain itself. So this is where it's all going.
It's kind of interesting because in places like Thailand, they do have I'm assuming they would have a community system where you would have relatives that would just loan you money or somebody that you know. So it's all very kind of, I guess, community based. And I'm just wondering if a lot of it is a tax dodge where, they use cash. So that way it isn't sort of recorded. Oh,
well, yes and no. Probably. That's one thing. But secondly, there's loan sharks. One of our friends in Hong Kong, Sam, he's working in a non-profit accounting firm where he's teaching and educating all the migrants that come into Hong Kong to avoid these loan sharks because they put themselves into so much debt getting these loans to get set up in Hong Kong so they can actually work that they cannot leave and they cannot escape these loans. So and they're uneducated. They don't understand 21% interest is huge. And so these loan sharks are giving them 10 grand and then making them pay back that with interest within a month, which is impossible for some of these people.
Oh, I didn't understand the full, I guess, impact of a 20% loan. 20% interest.
Yeah.
And when I got my credit card, I was like, this is crazy. Like, how did I ever agree to this? It took me 5 years to pay off like $5,000.
Yeah, it's a lot of marketing and hype and, the prestige that you got when holding this fancy credit card.
It wasn't even that. I just thought, I should be able to pay this off within a month. And it just didn't happen because there were so many other bills and the business that I had borrowed money for, it didn't take off as well as I had hoped. Yeah, but we're probably going off topic.
Yeah, no, that's all right. It's all about, that access to banks and finance and,
okay,
and what we're trying to avoid. So all those loan sharks.
So avoiding loan sharks. But then if Cardano is then loaning out to the people, what is their interest rate?
Anything like 1%, 0.5%.
Yeah, because that's
whatever
amazing.
You wanted to set it at.
So you get to set the percentage.
Yeah, because what it allows for is decentralized finance. So we're getting into the DeFi part of the world now. And essentially this allows for peer-to-peer loans. So I'll put on X amount of ADA, for example, and I'll set it at 0.1% if I want, or 1%, and you've got a year to pay it back. So that would be put into a pool of other people that are giving a loan out at 1% over a year period, give or take, and then people can borrow against that.
Okay, so what's keeping people from not paying you back or paying the pool back?
Yeah.
Because, obviously we have banks and we have, law enforcement. People come after you if you don't pay.
Right. So the amount that you can actually borrow, the way that the decentralized finance works is I'll put in a stable coin of some sort, such as USDT, or the common one that people use is called DAI, and it's an equivalent value of a US dollar. So I'll buy some DAI off an exchange and then put it into this DeFi protocol, usually under a smart contract. And from that smart contract, I'll be able to borrow up to about 75% of my DAI's value in another token. And people usually swap it for ETH or something like that. And then they can use that to trade or any other function. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it kind of sounds a bit backwards to the way loans work, because usually you put in, say, 10% of what you want to borrow, and then you get the money that you need. So this sounds like you're putting in, I don't know, 75%? And then you get...
Yeah, it seems like you're paying less. You're paying more and you get less.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and that's how they work, because that way you can't do a runner, right? So you're putting in more collateral than what you're buying in hope that what you're buying is going to go up in value. So that way you can pay back that loan and then make a profit off the top of that.
Yeah, I don't really see how that's going to work humanitarian-wise. Like in, those sort of countries that Cardano or blockchain or, crypto is suggesting they want to help.
Yeah.
Because it kind of seems like, they might need to go to loan sharks first in order to get this 75%, in order to get 25% of the loan. Yeah.
So, this is probably something that someone a lot smarter than me needs to work out and solve. So this is at the moment how decentralized finance is working, and people with money are making money off of the protocol at the moment.
Yeah, it sort of sounds like the old story of you need money to make money.
Yeah, it really does. And how someone's going to come up with a system to make it work for people without money to come on board, I'm not sure. But from what I understand is, like, if you're doing any sort of loan, you need some sort of collateral. You need something. But how are they going to make it so that whatever you're borrowing for, you can borrow more of, so that you can build up a store or shop or buy more stock or whatever it is? That I'm not sure how it's going to work, because it is very hard for a blockchain smart contract to claim a physical product that you're buying in the real world. So it's that legal aspect there. I'm not sure how people are going to solve. But it's something that needs to be done.
Sorry if that sounds a bit defeating and cynical.
Yeah, it does a little bit. But we can flip it around and maybe do it the other way. So maybe we look at our assets, and maybe the only assets that I have left at the moment is a little bit of ADA and some ETH. And I want to pay my bills because I have nothing, my income's scrapped for this week because I'm in between jobs or something. So I can put that ETH onto this decentralized finance protocol and then borrow some DAI off of that. So I'll put in 1,000 worth of ETH. Then I can borrow 750 worth of DAI, cash that out, pay for my bills for that week, And then next week when I get paid, I can pay that loan back. Does that make sense?
Oh, it sounds like a very roundabout way of paying your bills.
It is a little bit, but that way I don't need to sell my asset.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, so you're giving them some collateral
to lock it in.
Okay, and they're giving you money in inverted commas.
Yep.
And then you give them that loan back and you get your ETH back.
Yep, that's right.
Ah, so it's like giving somebody gold to hold.
Yep.
And they give you cash. And then you give them cash back and then they give you back your gold.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. So for someone in a third world country, maybe they managed to save up a bit of money and buy some ADA and lock that away into a protocol for a DeFi protocol, and they start to loan it out to other people. So they're loaning their ADA to other people that need some cash. So they need just a little bit of cash just to do something, whatever it is. So that person that is locking in their ADA into that contract will earn interest. So they earn interest back. Great, hooray for them. And the other person that's borrowing against that can pay for their bills or whatever they need to do that needs a bit of quick cash.
Okay, that's a bit more interesting.
Yeah. Well, this way I can, maybe I've accumulated a huge amount of digital currency assets over the years, and now I can interact with this DeFi protocol so I can actually get some cash out and do something with it without selling my valuable asset.
Yep. Or what you're saying is you can put your asset out there for loaning to gain interest.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So that sounds good now, right?
It sounds better. It's definitely a brave new world, and I'm sure there are going to be many hiccups before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm just reading a couple of things before we started this session, and you hear a lot more rug pulls at the moment. It's essentially when a project builds up a lot of value, builds up a lot of hype,
and then they
dump the money in, and then the owners do the rug pull and do the runner.
Yeah.
So I just saw another one here. I think it was Titan. They think people have done a rug pull on it and run off with all the money. In 24 hours, it went from $64 down to $0.
Wow. Yep, they've definitely done a rug pull.
Well, something's happened.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. It's like, who can you trust? And it really does sound like, which one is going to be the Google that wins out, or the Apple, the trustworthy brands. Yep. And I mean, it sounds like Bitcoin is already there and Ether are already there. And it sounds like Cardano is definitely on its way there.
It's in the top 5, that's
definitely.
For sure. So that's where we're at.
And didn't you say that somebody from Ether actually moved over to the Cardano project?
So Ethereum. So Charles Hoskinson was one of the co-founders of Ethereum back in the very early days, but it didn't last. Very, very short period of time. Ideology clash. They Charles and Vitalik didn't see eye to eye in how the protocol should be governed. And how it should be structured.
But that's quite comforting in that he's already co-founded a successful coin.
Yeah.
And now he's splintered off to create Cardano.
Yeah, well, actually, there's other co-founders of Ethereum that left as well in the early days. And another one, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but went off and started another one called Polkadot, which is and shares some similarities to Cardano in that it's a proof of stake protocol as well with smart contract, similar aspects.
So tell me more about proof of stake, because I have moved some of my Cardano into your pool.
Good.
In the hope that you don't do a rug pull.
Okay. Well, let me explain that. So let's pull back to episode 9, where I talked about delegation and staking. So if anyone wants to hear more of that, they can jump back to episode 9 and find out more. You can find that at cardano.com.au/EP009. All right, so proof of stake. So the idea here is that instead of mining and providing computational power to validate the blockchain, we are now pooling ADA together with other people into a pool and letting that pool validate the blockchain based on the amount of ADA that has been delegated to the pool. So the more ADA that has been delegated, the more likely that pool would be minting blocks for the blockchain.
And so what is the benefit of me putting money into a pool? Because it sounds like it's a bank, like I'm putting ADA into an ADA bank account.
So let's just be clear. The amount of ADA that you delegate to pool, you're not actually putting into the pool like you would put money into a bank. You're simply delegating the right of your wallet to a particular stake pool, and that stake pool will then mint the blocks on your behalf. So you're not putting ADA into the pool, you're just delegating the right. So the ADA never actually leaves your wallet. You still actually hold and own your ADA, which is a really cool aspect. Now, as for the blockchain, it does a couple of things for the protocol. So when people stake their ADA, it stabilizes the price of ADA, because now that it's staked towards a pool, it's not moving in and out and being sold constantly on exchanges, although a lot of it still is. But it stabilizes the price of ADA quite a lot. So it doesn't fluctuate as some other coins do. And then it also helps secure the network, because for someone to take over the network, you need at least 51% of the entire network's staking power. So you need to take over, I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but quite a significant amount of ADA to be able to take over the network. And if everyone's holding it in a wallet and staking it to pools, you either have to hack everyone's wallet or somehow purchase the rest of the ADA that's available to take over the network. And that will cost you billions on billions of dollars. So it's part securing the network, stabilizing the price. And as a result, for staking, you get rewards.
So you're saying that some billionaire can't just swoop in and buy up all the ADA and control the market?
Not possible.
Yeah.
Not possible anymore. Like if someone was to jump in, there would have to be the ADA available for them to buy. And there's just not enough in circulation at the moment on exchanges to be purchased. And as they purchase it from one exchange and another exchange, the price will skyrocket.
So you're saying ADA is a finite currency?
It is a finite currency. There's a limited supply of 45 billion ADA.
Okay.
Unlike Ethereum, which is an unlimited supply, it constantly generates more.
Okay. And so what are the benefits of having a finite currency?
Inflation. So it limits the amount of inflation that's available within the currency. So it's because it's a limited inflationary currency, the monetary value of it will increase over time, just as Bitcoin has. But Ethereum has as well, but due to its demand. So if for example now Cardano was to go unlimited and dump an extra 100 billion into the ecosystem, the price of ADA
would devalue.
It would devalue hugely. Just like the US dollar is at the moment. Just a little dig there. But, when you print more money, the value of that dollar will go down and inflation will go up. That's a very basic economic view.
Yeah, having an oversupply of something.
Yes, that's right. But, you can see this in history. Like Japan became overinflated. They had to print money to pay for excessive amount of stuff or whatever they had to do to actually run the country. And now it costs like hundreds of thousands of yen for a meal.
Do you mean Vietnam?
No, Japan.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, Japan. Well, but yeah, Vietnam as well.
Vietnam was ridiculous.
Yeah, Vietnam's the same.
Okay. Yeah, I pulled out $3 million.
Yeah, we were billionaires there. It was great.
And it was like...
You go to an ATM and print out your statements like, we're in the money.
And really, it's like, I can buy a bowl of soup with this.
Yes. Yeah, but that's the inflation that's happened in those countries.
Yeah.
And we don't want to happen everywhere in the world.
Okay, so the point of having a stake pool and being in a stake pool is that it stabilizes the fluctuation.
Stabilizes the fluctuation, the price, and secures the network.
Okay, but what are my personal benefits?
So your personal benefits. So for staking your ADA, you get ADA in return. So the protocol is written into it that you get approximately 5% return per annum, paid out every 5 days. And that 5 days is epoch.
And where does that ADA come from? If it's finite, how am I just getting ADA for ADA?
So there is still a large chunk of ADA that hasn't been released into the ecosystem. So that ADA is locked away in the treasury at the moment, and that's where the ADA is coming from at the moment.
So that's the interest payments.
Yes, that's the interest that's going to your accounts, into your ADA wallet. So it's coming from the treasury, it's coming from transaction fees for people actually using their network, and that's being drip fed to the pools, and the pools distribute that ADA to you as a delegate. And the pools take a fee and commission off the top as well.
Okay, so you get rewards from your currency.
Yep.
Being in a pool.
Yep.
Okay. Yep, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah. And, we've gone through some numbers and crunched like how much we possibly would need and what price of ADA would get us to a nice retirement point. So, if we can stack enough ADA over time, and if the price of ADA rises to a decent amount, we can live off the returns from the ADA quite comfortably.
And so that's another question, because I know that some people are saying, why would you sell your currency when it's the future? It's like you're literally selling your investment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you see being able to go to, I think PayPal have already started accepting Bitcoin, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. So do you see that happening with ADA?
It's a really hard thing to say. Like, the big players that buy Bitcoin, like MicroStrategy, I'm pretty sure Elon Musk has sold all his from Tesla already. But MicroStrategy is using Bitcoin as a hold of wealth, an asset. So going out and buying, Happy Meals from McDonald's probably isn't the wisest decision to use for an asset. It's like buying a block of gold. Would you go down to the local supermarket and buy groceries with a block of gold and get some change from it? It's probably a silly thing to do. It's quite a valuable asset, and then that's the way people look at Bitcoin as well. With Cardano, I probably personally I'd see it as the same as well, just as a valuable asset, and holding it from now to later, like 10 years down the track, is probably the smartest move to do. But right now, if you have an excessive amount of ADA and it won't make a difference to you in 10 years, you can spend a bit here and there, or significant amounts, such as paying for server costs and infrastructure costs for the pool, and it's okay. You won't really feel the dent.
Oh, I'm just kind of wondering, as with a bank, some people have a lot of money and they live off of their interest, but it's fiat currency. So it's fine for them to kind of go and spend it, and without the fear of like, oh, this is going to double tomorrow and I've just spent like $30 on a Big Mac.
Yeah, I know what you mean. You're essentially saying, is it worth spending your ADA?
No, I'm not really saying that. I guess what I'm saying is, okay, you're getting paid interest, and say you do want to retire and you want to quit your day job and you are earning ADA. Well, you have to live, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, you do. So you do have to spend it.
Yeah.
If you have no other form of income and that's your asset, then you do have to spend it.
Yeah.
And, many other people are looking at this as a retirement plan as well, and, the way to fund their future life, and they will be spending it.
Well, isn't this the whole point of digital currency, to be able to spend it eventually and be able to not have to worry about conversion fees and rates and all these transaction fees and middlemen, and I guess going to, overseas and having to exchange your money, but then getting
slapped with all those international conversion fees and even when you get to an airport and you do those money transfer things, it's like they're ridiculous.
Seriously? What? Yeah. Like, thanks for my chump change.
Yeah.
So what I'm seeing is, say, like 10, 20 years into the future, be like, okay, I've got ADA, I'm going to Singapore, and ADA in Australia is going to be the same value as ADA in Singapore, right?
Yeah.
So here's my phone, tap, and there it is.
Ideally.
Yeah.
Ideally, that will be perfect. Whether it will happen and world economies start accepting more cryptocurrencies, I don't know.
Yeah.
Did you know that El Salvador now accepts Bitcoin as legal tender?
I think a lot of countries do now, don't they?
No. This is written to their legislation.
Okay.
Shop owners now have to accept the US dollar, which is their currency, and they have to accept Bitcoin as well.
Okay, so they're forced to.
They're forced to.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, how
because it's part
interesting.
of their
Well, it's
legislation.
probably. And that's really interesting as well, because if they're accepting Bitcoin, I mean, I guess, and then Bitcoin plummets like 2 days later because somebody tweeted something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. But, they're currently using the US dollar as their currency, and they're held mercy to the US dollar. Whatever happens to the US dollar, people, they could be blocked. The central banks could do whatever they want in terms of releasing or not releasing funds to their country. So this acceptance of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in particular circumnavigates that entire process and gets around the central banks.
I guess before it all becomes super adopted, the market really needs to, I guess, stabilize. Yeah.
I have no answer for that.
No.
I have absolutely
But
no answer
I'm
for
just
that.
thinking out loud, like in 10, 20 years, it really has to have been stabilized in order for these transactions, everyday transactions, to take place.
Yeah.
And without the fear of,
volatility
That's
in the
right.
price. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know when that will happen. It may be at a point where all of the ADA is released that's in the treasury, which is, I think, another 10 billion. Again, I can't remember the number off the top of my head. I will have to fact check this. But, it may be at that point when everything is released that the price of ADA is stabilized, the market cap has risen so much, fiat currency has pushed into cryptocurrencies and taken it to a total market cap of like 10, 20, 50 trillion dollars. And the price will stabilize then. And that may be out of our lifetime. And our little daughter may be running around in her Lambo with ADA. So who knows? It's a future we're setting up. So back to your question, what do you get out of it? You get ADA.
Woo! Okay.
Going full circle, back to your question. Yes, you get ADA for staking and delegating.
Okay.
All right. So now, there are lots of other things.
Okay.
But we've already gone almost 40 minutes into this episode. So do you want to go any more?
Well, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, okay. So you understand the idea and concepts around staking?
Yeah. It's actually quite simple, really.
Yeah. It's where people get confused is when they go do it themselves and they go to choose a stake pool and they look at all the stats of these pools and they're completely overwhelmed. Have a guess at how many stake pools there are.
I have no idea.
Okay. When I started, there were 2,100 and that was 3 months ago.
Yeah.
So wild guess how much? So
You
less than
said there were-
3,000.
You said there were 2,000?
2,100.
Okay. And 3 months later, did you say?
Yeah,
5,000?
3, 4 mil-
10,000?
Not that many.
Okay. You made it sound like it really ballooned.
No.
Since you started.
Yeah, I probably led you the wrong way with that question. We're currently at approximately 2,600 pools. Whoa, ballooned, yes. I
That's
know
huge.
Martina's making weird faces at me. But, a lot of these pools have also died off. So a lot have died off. So maybe there were, between then and now, maybe 3,000 pools. But then a lot of pools just retired.
I think you mentioned some of the pools missed some of the payments or something like they...
Missed blocks.
Right, okay.
Missed blocks. So, if you look and dig deeply into the pool that you're in, you can see the history of the blocks that they have produced and where they may have completely missed blocks altogether. And when that happens, anyone delegating to the pool will miss their rewards, which is unfortunate. But, it's something you need to look for when looking at a pool.
Tell me about the blocks.
Blocks, okay.
Like, what is this? Every 5 days you get a block and an epoch,
okay.
and
So
what is that about?
Epochs it's a division of the year. So 365 days in a year. It's divided into 73 equal periods, which is
Yes, you're
blah,
always
blah, blah.
typing 73 into
Yes,
your calculator.
yes.
I'm like, why 73?
Because every epoch is 5 days divided by blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that's the period that they've divided into. So it's an easy to work with, like 5 days is easy. Okay. Less than a week. Now, in that 5 period, there are time periods which are called slots, and each of those slots is allocated to a pool. So a pool when they're allocated the slot, they will process all of the transactions that happen on the blockchain at that moment in time and validate that block. Does that make sense?
Kind of. Yes.
Okay, so let's say at this split second, a slot is allocated to our pool. And any of the transactions that have happened in the last minute get allocated to that block. And my pool has to validate that block and say, yep, everything here looks good.
Is that like a Google bot that goes around and validates your website?
No, not really.
Okay.
No. It's more so given to me and said, the protocol or Ouroboros says, Pete, it's your pool's turn at this particular time.
Okay.
Don't stuff up.
Okay. And how do you know when it's your turn?
It's actually all predefined every 5 days. All these slots are calculated and allocated to all the pools about 1.5 days before the epoch changes. So I can actually look on my pool's statistics a day and a half before the epoch ends, and I can see exactly how many slots I'm assigned and when they are. So the protocol works it all out mathematically 1.5 days before the epoch starts.
I'm a bit lost. What is a block again?
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Oh my God. Okay. A block is a group of transactions
Okay.
that happens at a period of time.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Yep.
And how many in a block? It doesn't
Transactions, it doesn't matter. It
matter.
could be hundreds
so
of thousands.
X amount in an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We've minted 0 transaction blocks. So
Okay.
nothing's happened at that second, but we
Okay.
still minted a block. We still validated the blockchain for that period of time.
But nothing happened.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
It's very uninspiring. Or I'd get a block with 1 transaction in it.
Okay.
A little small, but it's still a block.
Right.
Is this making sense now?
Okay. So I get what blocks are.
Yeah.
And you get paid out for block.
There are transaction fees when you make a transfer of ADA from somewhere to somewhere. And those fees are placed into those blocks and the pools get those fees.
Okay. Now it's getting complicated.
Yeah, it does get complicated.
In my mind, I have visions of like packets of data moving around.
Yeah, it's data. It's data
Yeah.
moving around.
Okay.
And it's grouped together in the blocks.
Yeah.
And so let's say there's 100 transactions in that particular block at that period in time. So it might produce 10 ADA in fees. So those fees are grouped together from those 100 transactions. And because my pool has produced it, I get those fees.
You get the 10 ADA.
Yep, that's right.
Okay.
And that gets distributed to the delegates that have staked to my pool.
Okay. So people have staked in your pool and they get the ADA from the blocks.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
From the fees in the block.
Where did the fees come from? People transferring the money around.
Yeah, that's right.
But if we're on your pool and we're staking, then we're not transferring ADA.
That's correct.
So this is happening somewhere else?
Yeah, somewhere else.
Okay.
So other people in, like someone might be buying NFTs, artwork.
Right, okay.
That NFT transfer that someone just bought is where that fee comes from. Or someone just auctioned a piece of artwork. Or someone executed a smart contract and has applied for a loan. Or someone has moved money from an exchange to their wallet and then back to an exchange again. All of those interactions with the blockchain cost a fee.
Yeah.
And that fee is about 0.148 or whatever it is at the moment.
Well, that's very nice of them to pull it back into the community and give out interest from these
I guess
these
it's nice.
fees.
Yeah. Well, the Treasury actually takes a portion of those fees as well.
But then they still give it back to their community.
Yeah.
Which is quite lovely.
Well, without the community, without the pools, there'll be no blockchain. There'll be no network for the blockchain to actually operate on. So it's completely decentralized, meaning it's in the hands of the pool operators now to operate the network.
And also we're stabilizing their currency.
The delegates are, because they're delegating to the pools and not buying and selling constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's in their interest.
Yes.
To provide interest.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. This is making a bit more sense to me now.
Okay. So we've covered...
Because I really thought it really sounded like money was being
printed out of
out of
thin air.
thin air. Yeah, that's really what it sounded like.
Well, that's what our government does at the moment. But, that's another thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it comes from somewhere. So the money in the blocks that we get comes from the treasury, which is the locked away store of ADA, and from the transaction fees that happen on the network.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, I know you've mentioned a few times governments printing money. Can this happen on ADA or the blockchain?
No.
And is it because it's finite?
Yes.
But there's no way that they can reverse that and be like, oh, we're just going to make more ADA and release more ADA. That doesn't exist.
Technically, it can, and it has happened in other blockchains. Mm-hmm. For example, Bitcoin in 2017 had their hard fork where they wanted to...
I remember that.
Yeah, it was the big deal back then.
Into Bitcoin 2 or something?
Bitcoin Cash.
That's right.
But then that got rebranded to Bitcoin Satoshi Vision SV.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. We completely missed that rebranding, and yeah, whatever.
Has anybody even verified Satoshi's existence?
No,
okay.
No one has.
Good.
Okay. I'll give you a documentary. It's quite good. It's by Cold Fusion on YouTube. It's
okay, so I haven't
brilliant.
Missed anything.
No, you haven't missed too much. No, Satoshi hasn't magically appeared. Okay. No.
I bet he's like some cat.
It probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably is a cat that can type. Yeah, has a very unique typing way of typing. The way he does his full stops. It's very unique. Where were we?
It can't be printed.
Yes, that's right. It's essentially set in stone of the protocol of how much ADA there is and how much is going to be released into the ecosystem over the next amount of years, how many years that is, unless there is a complete hard fork of the project.
Do you foresee that as being likely?
Very, very hard for it to do.
Yeah.
Bitcoin, it was mostly controlled by the developers. So it's interesting the way that things are set up. The Cardano blockchain is essentially controlled by IOG. IOG contribute the bulk of the developers for the blockchain and all the code that goes around Cardano. So they essentially say what happens. So for that to fork and someone else to jump in means that a lot of these lead developers that are working on the blockchain would have to leave Cardano as well, not believe in the project anymore. A lot of other developers need to step in and completely fork the project off. So that's incredibly difficult at this point in time. With the amount of technical knowledge that's needed. I can't see it happening.
So what I have learnt from the benefits of Cardano from speaking with you is that it's for the people, as in it's humanitarian project.
Yep.
The other benefit is that it's more stabilized with the pools.
Yep.
And
secure.
Yep, secure. And it's also finite so that it's less likely to be printed, for money to be printed.
Or it's impossible at the moment. Yep.
And you get rewards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it basically, Cardano gives back to the community, its community.
Yeah, it's part of how it's set up.
Its ecosystem.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there's probably two more things I need to mention. And then we can wrap up.
It's my bedtime.
I know. I can see you looking at the clock.
Can you see me leaning
Yes.
out? Yeah.
Yes, you're fading. So one, it's more energy efficient than all of these proof of work protocols. So
that was another thing I wanted to mention, because didn't Elon Musk, that main tweet was like, oh, this isn't environmentally sustainable because of all the server energy and...
So it costs...
it takes to mine the coins.
Yeah. The same amount of energy that costs to power Malaysia is how much energy is needed to power the Bitcoin.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a huge amount.
That's ridiculous.
Whereas Cardano, it's, I don't know, like 7 terawatt hours. I can't remember the numbers off, but it's like a tiny fraction of what Bitcoin's using at the moment. So the power comparison is just ridiculous. And then the other thing is that a lot of the stake pools in the community are actually mission focused as well. So they donate parts of their profits to charities.
Yeah, okay.
So there's one that I did an interview with last week, Mermaida from the Metro Mermaids pool. They donate a lot of their profits to ocean charities. So like, Save the Ocean, Sea Shepherd, Coral Reef Foundation, whatever it is. So they donate to things like that. So, all these mission-led pools, there's quite a few of them, and they all contribute back to not just the Cardano community, but to global initiatives.
Yep. Is that something that you would look into doing as well?
Well, at the moment, we're doing mostly content. So that's the whole point of our pool.
Yeah.
So obviously you don't know much about our pool.
Clearly, this is new to me.
Oh, God, okay.
Content. What do you mean by content?
Oh, that's why I'm producing the podcast. To educate people such as yourself to learn more about Cardano. Okay. And obviously I'm doing an okay job, yeah? As you laugh in my face.
This is your...
This is my contribution.
Okay.
Yes. The whole point of the pool is to fuel this stuff so we can build bigger adoption of Cardano to the greater audience of the world.
Yeah. You're getting the word out there.
Yes, that's right.
You're doing a very tireless job.
Yes, and tonight I've converted one more person, I think.
I was already converted. I just wanted to know more.
You were forced, but now you actually understand why. Okay? All right. So that's it for this podcast episode. Let's wrap things up. If you want to get to these show notes, I don't know if you really want to. Maybe I'll put a picture of myself and Martina up. And you can get to the show notes at cardano.com.au, and you can see all of the notes that I'll jot down. So it's just a recap of everything that we've spoken about, really.
I hope I haven't ruined your podcast.
Well, we'll see. If my subscriber list drops, then we know what's happened. But if it increases, maybe I'll have you back on again.
Oh, wow. Do I get more ADA for appearances?
I'll give you investment advice, not financial advice.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. All right. So until next time, everyone, please keep your seed phrases safe and secure. And we'll catch you next time. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debating. IOHK, Emergo, we're not affiliated, not Cardano Foundation. We just gotta say it. A show that you can learn and it's for your entertainment. Yeah, you gotta check it. Don't wanna be missing that. You were tuned in to the Learn Cardano podcast. Yeah, giving insight. Ain't another show like this when it come to crypto. Invest at your own risk. Might not be for everyone, but who it is for, we keep giving you some info and plenty more. Hey, yeah, the Learn Cardano podcast. Hey, yeah, the Learn Cardano podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Keep it locked right here. Let's go.